So let's take a look at some of the questions today. Let's start with the first question, all the way in Petaling Jaya in Malaysia. It is John. And John says, how can you restore your mind quickly after knowing you're wrong? Okay, how do you restore your mind quickly? Okay, so this is the one that's very interesting because one of the hardest parts is when you're going in a certain direction, in the beginning, you're not doing it because you think you're wrong. In the beginning, you're doing it because you think you're right. Okay, it's true, right? You wouldn't go a direction because you knew you were wrong. You go in that direction because you really feel that's right. But what happens is, the most important time is a time when you finally realize you're wrong. That's the key moment, John. More than any other time, it's that key moment when you finally realize, oh wow, oh I understood it wrong, right? At that moment, we have to be the ones that have to make the right decision. Now, how can you restore your mind quickly? It's not an easy thing if you've been always doubling down and going the other way, right? Learning how to take the other route or the better route is something that you have to exercise all the time. And I would say one of the best things to do to exercise is you need to be comfortable with saying sorry. Like you have to be comfortable with it. Because I know a lot of people are uncomfortable saying they're sorry. Like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. Right? Yeah, and we have to get used to, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean this. Oh, wow, no, I didn't know. And this is one of the ways you can start kind of building that muscle. Because if you're someone who's used to and getting, strengthening that part of you of apologizing and saying sorry, then when the moment comes, it's a lot easier for you. But a lot of people struggle because they're not used to saying sorry. They're not used to telling someone I'm wrong kind of thing, right? And that's something that we have to practice a lot. And it's going to creep up on us. And it's that moment when you're wrong, you got to just say you're wrong. And you got to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, that's my mistake. Okay? Thank you, John, all the way over there in PJ. Let's go to the next question. Next question over there is Shelly. Shelly in Singapore. And the question is, how do we control ourselves when the worst part of us comes out? Ooh, right? How do you control yourselves when the worst part of us comes out? So it is one of the parts I talked about is, yes, when you look at the story of Jonah, it's when the worst part of us comes out. So how do we control ourselves in that moment, okay? Now, one thing that each individual is going to have a different way of dealing with that worst part, okay? And I would have to say is some people, like for instance, people who are like strong introverts, they want to be alone. And if you know yourself really well, some people just need to be alone. It's better to be alone than to lash out at tons of people, right? It's better to be alone, okay? And I know that there's other people too that are a little bit more of an extrovert, okay? And if you're an extrovert, one of the things that happens is you need someone you trust you can talk to, right? You really need someone you can trust and someone that you can just say, hey, this is what happened, and then the person can just kind of calmly tell you like, hey man, I think that's a little bit wrong. Do you know you're right or wrong? Yeah, I know I'm wrong. So you probably should say sorry. Yeah, I should, right? And it really depends on how much you know yourself really well, right? And it's something that you have to really understand. You got to understand yourself really well. Some people need to talk to someone. Some people need to be alone, right? But regardless of anything else, if you are someone of faith, even before you talk to someone and even before you get into your mind while you be alone, for those of you who have good faith, or just faith in general, it's really, really good for you to just sit down and pray first, right? Just calm yourself down, get yourself back into God's presence, and really think, okay, what is going on? And then you can actually think much more clearly, right? So if some of you out there might not have faith, you can pray or you can meditate just to calm yourself down. You want to get yourself out of that emotional state, because in that emotional state is really, really, really difficult, okay? All right, let's go over to the next question. Next question is Tan Ling in Kuala Lumpur. Okay. You mentioned about learning life through life. Okay, cool. Since many things happen every day, how do we know what are the lessons we should realize and learn? Oh, perfect. Okay, good question, Tenling. What are the questions we should learn for sure? One thing that you cannot realize from something that is not striking. Now, striking means what? Striking means like to strike that's to strike. Now, it doesn't mean someone's going to slap you in the face, right? it means that what you're going through has to strike your mind. It can't be something that's kind of like medium, not so emotional. Like all my realizations are coming from situations where I'm like, what? Right? You're either shocked, you're super angry, super sad, upset, you feel betrayed, just tons of different things, right? These are things that we have to understand is you're not going to realize from things that are just normal parts of your day. Because I'm going to tell you right now, 95% of your day, you're not going to remember. You're just not. There's nothing exciting about it. That's why if someone says, what happened last week in your life? Most people are like, oh, I don't remember. Why? Most of the stuff that we're going through life is on autopilot. Right? When you drive, sometimes you don't even know you're driving, but you're driving. And your mind's just taking over. But you have to realize it's those very striking moments. Right? Those moments you have to start thinking about it. Right? In those moments you're thinking, why am I so angry about this? And this is when you start to actually realize more deeply and have a life lesson through life, right? And that's why my biggest thing, whenever I'm helping people and helping them to train in these situations, to help to receive some type of revelation, God is revealing something to you or something that you're realizing about life, it's usually almost like more than 95% of the time, it's going to be in a situation where it's very emotional because you remember it. You know the feeling. What made you feel that way? What are the steps that led you to that point? And it makes you realize much more deeply about that situation. So Tenling, for sure, my first suggestion to you is you have to look at the things in life, even looking back now, the things that have strong emotional, like that have a strong emotional output in your life. From those things, you start thinking deeper about it, then you're going to start realizing more things about life. And if you want to figure out, well, what is God saying to me? If you're someone of faith, you know, it sounds like the worst answer, like, so I don't know what to do. Pray about it. And you're kind of like, I've heard that so many times. But yeah, you do. If you have a real solid, strong, deep prayer, you'll start to have realizations, and you'll start to have these epiphanies like, oh, I never thought about that, right? So a lot of times people don't have these deeper prayers, and this is why they don't reach that state where they can hear God speaking to them, okay? So let's go into our birthday giveaway, because it was my birthday on Sunday, and I'm gonna have this birthday question for 2 free bubble teas today. 2 free bubble teas. The question is, which country was I born in? I gave the answer before. Which country was I born in? Okay, which country? Go ahead, write it down as much as you can, and we're gonna move into the next question. Last question today is from Hannah, over there in Japan. Last question says what? Last question says, I have the tendency to cut off communication to people I have hurt because of fear of committing mistakes again. Is this a healthy way to move on? Okay, so I have the tendency to cut off communication to people I have hurt because of fear of committing mistakes again. Is this a healthy way to move on? And the answer is no, it's not very healthy, right? Cutting off communication is probably the least healthy thing you can do. Why? Because the moment you cut off communication, there's no more information. Now, what do you mean information? For instance, if I hurt someone, if I cut off communication, what happens is I don't know why they're hurt, right? I don't know why they're hurt. I don't know what I did. I don't know what's the situation or what's going on in their life. Was it maybe they're just extra sensitive because something else happened in their life at that moment, right? Yes, of course we don't want to make the same mistake again, right? But you don't want your relationships to be based on fear. The fear of making a mistake. It's not a very healthy relationship. Relationships should be built on trust. Trust meaning that even if I hurt you, we can talk about it, we get over it, and there's not going to be this massive judgment. And even if I make another mistake, it's okay, and we're always going to talk about it. Communication is the first thing that should happen after hurting someone, right? You don't want to get into, because you got to think about this. Even when it comes to faith, when I talk to a lot of people when it comes to faith too, it is super unhealthy to cut off communication with God just because you sinned or made a mistake. It's actually the wrong way to do it. If you think about it, imagine your husband, Hannah, after they hurt you once, they never talk to you again. Would you want that? You being the wife of your husband hurts you, but would you be in your heart thinking, wow, I hope they never talk to me again, even though we live together and we're married? No. Because if you're someone who really, really loves your husband, you want to work it out and you want things to be restored and have a stronger relationship and move forward, right? It's the same thing with everything else, right? To cut off communication is the assumption that they don't want to talk to you anymore, right? You don't want to build your relationships over fear. A relationship should be built on love and trust, right? And we want to be those people that can really understand in a much, much better way. Like, oh, that's what I did. Because once you understand this about yourself, if you don't communicate, you actually have a higher chance of doing it to hurting someone else. You have a higher chance of doing it to another person. You have a higher chance of hurting the same person over again when you finally get the guts to talk to them again, right? Communication is it's the thing that should never break. Whether it's with God, your friends, your family, anything else, the communication is the last thing. It's always like the very, 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 very last of all last things. It should be the first thing, okay? All right, thank you, Hannah. Let's go into today's, what do we call it? Today's giveaway. Okay, today's giveaway, what number do I have here? The number I have here is 9, right? So the person who answered the question in 9th place will get today's bubble tea. Today's winners are, we have Brigitte Salim in Indonesia, and on Facebook we have Anna Oriol from the Philippines. There's always someone winning from the Philippines every single week. Congratulations, Anna and Gita. Make sure you email us on espressowithsky@gmail.com. We're going to put that up here. Make sure you text us or email us. And on top of that, make sure you take a picture and please send it to us as soon as possible. Everyone have a wonderful and amazing night. It is only Tuesday. The week is just beginning. I hope you guys will have an awesome time, and we'll see you again next week. Or some of you will see you on Thursday for Bubble Talk. Or some of us will see each other on Saturday at 1 p.m. for the Bible lessons. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.
We believe in the same God, but we are on different levels. So, 3, 4.